We can agree that a good conversation goes in two directions, right? You speak, I listen. I speak, you listen. However, if the conversation is in English and English isn't your first language, it can be more difficult to judge when exactly it's your turn to speak. You might accidentally interrupt somebody before they've finished making their point. If you've ever been interrupted, you know how frustrating that feels, so we want to avoid that. So, how can you be sure when it is your turn to speak during a conversation in English? I'll show you 3 simple signals that indicate another person has finished making their point and it's okay for you to speak. We'll focus on their intonation, the words they use, and their body language to help you have a healthy two-way conversation in English. As always, if you're interested in improving your English communication skills, then please follow my channel for plenty of tips. Now let's get to work. To avoid interrupting somebody before they've concluded, listen to their tone of voice while they're speaking. Let's take an example. Do you think this person has finished making their point? I think we should discuss the proposal. With this rising intonation going up at the end of the sentence, I would say the person is still in the middle of their thought. So wait and give them some time to finish. Let's try again with a different intonation. I think we should discuss the proposal. This time it seems a lot more final because the intonation goes down at the end of the sentence. That usually means the person has finished and it's your turn to respond. So this is a great trick in general to help you in your English conversations. Upwards intonation at the end of the sentence, wait and see if they still have something else to say. Downwards intonation at the end of the sentence, normally that's a green light for you to start talking. Paying attention to somebody's words and phrasing is normally one of the clearest ways to tell if somebody has finished speaking and they're ready for your input. Here are some examples of phrases that are normally strong indicators that a person has wrapped up. And that's how I see it. That's what happened. That's all. Combined with a downwards intonation at the end, you have a strong clue that that person has finished and it's okay for you to speak. It's even easier to identify your turn to speak when somebody explicitly invites you to respond. They might use phrases like this. Does that make sense? What do you think? Let me know if you have any questions. When you hear phrases like this, you don't need to worry about interrupting. You have a clear signal that it's your turn to speak. To avoid interrupting somebody during an English conversation, look for these subtle body language signals that can help you. For example, if their mouth is open or they've just inhaled a breath, they're probably still forming some new words and sentences, and it's better to wait until they've finished. And you certainly have body language that suggests they've finished talking. For example, when somebody leans back on their chair, or maybe they clasp their hands together, or maybe they were moving around and they become still. That's normally an indicator that they have concluded their point, and it's your turn to respond. I've given you some tips to handle judging whether it's your turn to speak or not. However, it's not an exact science. People are random. So I'm going to give you some other bonus tips in case you're still finding it difficult to judge the situation. Quick thing before we do that, if this video is useful for you, please give it a like. Thank you. Okay, bonus tip number 1. If you are really unsure whether a person has finished speaking or not, simply ask. Was there more you wanted to add? Bonus tip number 2. If you do interrupt, no worries. Correct the situation with this phrase. Sorry for interrupting. Or another common phrase is, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue. These phrases acknowledge the situation before moving on smoothly and politely. Bonus tip number 3 while we're on the topic of interrupting people. I think it's good practice if you have questions for somebody to wait until they've finished speaking and saying everything they have to say before asking your questions. Save them for the very end. That can help maintain a nice, flowing, smooth conversation. With these tips, you can feel confident about having English conversations that follow a healthy pattern and a mutual exchange of ideas. If you want to continue improving your communication skills in English, then follow my channel, talktips.tv, and I'll be happy to help you. See you there!